Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing a kind of like review and a first impression on the Clinique Beyond Perfecting Foundation and Concealer. I have never used this product before, and I know that there's a lot of people on like YouTube and Instagram and just social media in general that have been using this and loving it. So I decided that I was going to get it and try it out and let you guys know what I think about it, if I like it, how it wears, and all of that good stuff. So I'm going to show you how I apply it. I'm just going to be using my normal primers, and I'll show you guys what those are and the way that I would normally apply foundation. And then I'm going to go about my day today, and I'll come back later tonight and I'll let you know how it wore, what it looks like, if it broke up or any, and then also I have, just in like my T-zone area, I get a little bit oily, so I'll show you guys kind of how it works for oily skin as well. So yeah, if you guys want to see my thoughts on that, then keep watching. So I like to use the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer Water. And then I also use the Rimmel London Stay Matte Mattifying Makeup Primer. This is supposed to help with shine control, pore minimizing, hydrate your skin, and smooth skin. So I really like this one. It is a drugstore foundation, so for being drugstore, I really like it. I have a couple, or I've used a couple that are more on the high end, and I don't really like them. Like, I've used the Benefit Professional, and I've also used one by CoverFX, and I don't think it works as well as this Rimmel London one, so that's kind of nice because this one is a lot cheaper than those. But I do like to use the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer Water. It just kind of helps my makeup stick and adhere to my skin and stay a little bit longer. If I don't have this on hand, I'm using the travel size right now, and it's about half gone, so I'm going to have to get a new one. But if I don't have this one, then I kind of go back and forth between this and MAC Fix Plus, but I'm currently out of that one as well. So either of those kind of work, and it just helps because I do have oily skin, and sometimes if you have oily skin, you forget how important it is to like hydrate your skin, because you think it's going to make you like more oily, and sometimes that does happen if you use the wrong like moisturizer or something like that. But for me personally, because I only get oily really in like my T-zone, if I use too much mattifying stuff and I don't put like a hydrating thing on my face, then I get like dry patches on the parts that aren't oily, and it's not pretty. So I like to use one of these like waters or like hydrating mists on my skin, and I put that down first, and then I'll put like the mattifying primer on over it, so it still is hydrating, but it keeps me from being oily. So I just, like I said, I use this one, and it just kind of spritz it all over my face. And then I go back in with the Stay Matte Primer, and I just use a little bit of this. Like I said, I do just go oily in my T-zone, so I don't like to put this everywhere. So I just use about this much, and I really only put it in my T-zone, and I kind of like to press it in where I have like the issues with my pores being prominent. So I don't have too much issue with that, but I do have some deeper pores right here. So I really like to press it in there to kind of fill those in. And I don't really use the primer anywhere else. Like I said, this one I just use for being oily, so I just put it in the areas that I am on the oily side. And then the primer water just kind of makes everything stick to my skin in the places that I don't have that primer on. So now I am going to be using this. Like I said, I'm going to be doing this the same way I would always do my foundation, and I don't really like to use brushes when I apply my foundation. I just find that regardless of whether I'm using like a high-end one, like I have one from IT Cosmetics, or if I use one by like Real Techniques from Target or whatever, anytime that I use a brush, it kind of leaves my foundation just like streaky, and I don't like the way it applies on my skin. It might work great for you guys, but just for me personally, I don't like to use brushes. And sometimes it also, like, it makes the foundation look more cakey on my skin, or it just doesn't work out for me. So I like to use a beauty blender. This one is actually by, I believe it's by L'Oreal. It's one of their new, like, sponges. They have, like, I think they have 3 or 4. But I just get the bigger one that looks like the beauty blender, and then I'm going to wet this, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I just wet the beauty sponge. I like this one better than the beauty blender, to be honest. It's a lot cheaper. I think this one's only like $7 or $8, and the beauty blender is more like $20. I find that this one, it does just as good of a job, and it's cheaper. So I'd rather get the one from L'Oreal that does just as good a job and save my money on that one, rather than paying the $20 for the beauty blender that does the same thing. So I'm just going to apply this like I would any other foundation, but this is what the Clinique foundation looks like. It comes in this tube. It's like a glass bottle, and then you unscrew it, and it has a nice dovetail application. The applicator looks a lot like the Shape Tape applicator does, but it's bigger. It's actually quite big. I mean, the Shape Tape one is big too for like a concealer, but this one is bigger. But that's what they look like in comparison. And so what I'm going to do, I can get this lid back on. So I'm just going to take the applicator and just kind of like dot this all over my face. And then I'm going to blend it with my beauty blender once I have it all on here. And I do like a more full coverage foundation, so it might, you know, seem like I'm putting a lot on my face, and I am, but that's why. If you don't like more of a full coverage look, then don't put as much on your face as I am doing right now. So now I'm just going to take my beauty sponge, and I'm just going to start tapping and pressing it into my skin. So my first impression on the foundation right now, it's really thick when you put it on, which I don't mind. I do, like I said, I like a more full coverage foundation, so I'm used to it being on the thicker side when you put it on, but it doesn't feel like you're wearing a lot of foundation, if that makes sense. So some of them, like you'll put your foundation on and you'll feel like you're wearing a lot of makeup. This one, it doesn't feel like that, but the foundation is on the thicker side just as you're blending it out. Also, the foundation is more on like the dry side. It is mattifying. It's not like, I don't look really dewy or luminous or anything like that right now, which I like because I do have oily skin in my T-zone. If you like a more dewy foundation, you might not like this one. You can put like the Becca backlight primer on, that would help, or the skin perfector. Like, you could do the pressed skin perfector, which is basically just highlight, but if you get the liquid one, you put that on or mix it in with your foundation, that would help with that, so you might like it. But it is on the mattifying side, and to go along with that, it is on the dry side, so if you have dry skin, same thing, you might not like it. I don't really have any dry patches right now. Sometimes I'll get like a dry patch right in here, but it's not too dry today. So, I can't really say, but if you do have dry patches, because this foundation is really, it's really dry and thick, it might stick to those patches. I don't have any dry patches right now to tell you for sure, but just like off of my first impression, and because I do get those dry patches, it kind of seems like a foundation that might stick to them and enhance those. So like I said, you might want to be careful with that, or if you do mix in some of that like skin perfector or like a luminous primer or something like that, it might help not stick to those, but just off of my first impression, I feel like it could. So the coverage is pretty good. I do have like It's not a full coverage foundation by any means. You can still see, like, I just get red and kind of rosy around my cheeks, and I always have, so you can kind of see that still. I do have, like, a few blemishes throughout. You can still see them. It does cover some of it, and it kind of evens out the skin tone, but it doesn't cover it fully. And then as far as, it's not, like, enhancing my pores or anything, so that's good. And another thing, in my nose, I know this is a fairly common problem, but, like, my nose, I don't know if it's, like, really deep or what, but when I put foundation in, it's sometimes hard to, like, get it all blended in these creases. And so sometimes the foundation will kind of, like, settle in there, and it'll look cakey, and, like, you won't see it if I'm like this, but if I really go in to look at it, it'll be caked up in there. And this isn't doing that right now, so that's good. I'll keep you guys posted on that and let you know if it starts to cake up in there or not. But my first impression, I do like this. The only thing is, it's not a full coverage foundation, and as, like, for as thick and dry as the foundation is, I would kind of expect it to be a full coverage foundation, but I like it. If you want a really full coverage foundation, you're probably not going to like it, but as long as you're okay with, like, a medium coverage that you can probably build up in, like, certain patches. I wouldn't build it up all over because it seems like it would get cakey, but if you just build it up, like, in a few spots where you need it, I'm sure that would work out fine. So I like it. I'll let you know. I'm going to go and finish the rest of my makeup up. I'll add, like, my concealer and all of that. I'll let you know after I do that how it kind of applied, if it worked out good, all of that. And then, so I'll come back and show you that. And then once I'm done with that, I'll come back at the end of the day and show you kind of how it all wore, and then my final thoughts on it. So I will be back as soon as I finish the rest of my face. Okay guys, so I went ahead and I finished out my face makeup. I set everything. I did my concealer, like I said. I used the Tarte Shape Tape. I set everything with the Kat Von D Lock-It setting powder. It's right here. I got it in translucent. So I set my whole face with that. I didn't bake or anything today because I wanted to see what the foundation would do if you didn't bake, if you just set it all with the powder. I wanted to see what it was like if you add, like, bronzer and blush and highlighter and how it, like, all blends together. So I used the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil, the bronzer, and then I used the Tarte Amazonian Clay 12-Hour Blush in Party. Looks like this. So I kind of set my face, and I used the blush and the bronzer, and it all blended together really well. I didn't have any issues with it, like, being patchy, which I have used both the bronzer and the blush before, so I kind of know how it applies with my other foundations, and I didn't have any issues blending it all out. Same thing with the concealer. Everything went on smooth, and then I used the Anastasia and Nicole Guerrero highlight palette, and I used Forever Young today as my highlighter, and I didn't have any issues with that being patchy or not wanting to blend out or anything with the foundation either. So as far as, like, blending on top of it and layering things on, I didn't have any issues. I thought it all went on like all of my other foundations do. So like I said earlier, I will go about my day, and then it is, what time is it? It is 3 o'clock today, so I am going to be hanging out with my cousins later today. But yeah, when I get home, we're going around 6, so I'm not sure what time I'll be back home. But at the end of the day today, I will kind of check in with you guys again and let you know how the foundation wore, if it broke up any, got oily, if it got patchy or anything like that, or wore off. So I'll see you guys then.